today. Oops. Looks like he dropped slight technical issues. Let's give it a moment while we wait for Isa and Earl. So, yesterday we had a marathon stream, a 7-hour stream, and an after show. So, in total, it's about like 9 hours and a half of stream duration. That was quite something. And the original stream for us that he started early in the afternoon was debunking Wixit's NASA fraud video. And then we went into a little bit of a watch party, something that we hadn't had done before. It was quite fun to go through the debate with all of you in the chat, and we're quite thankful to everyone in the audience hanging out with us while we did that stream. All right, looks like Isa is back. Hello, hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, brother. It's just my computer. I'm restarting it, and then I'm going to
No problem.
go from there.
Yeah, technical issues sometimes can get a little bit on the nasty side, but it's no biggie. All right. I think we'll get started, and we'll see if Errol joins us later. She said that she would, but maybe she had a problem or something. But without further ado, the Book of 1,000 Nights and a Night. Today, for the introduction, I honestly cheated a little bit. I found a very apt description of what this book is from someone called Muhannad Salhi, who is an Arab word specialist, African and Middle Eastern division from the Library of Congress. So I'm going to basically give you the description that they gave about this book from here with some of my personal thoughts weaved into the chat. So let's get started. An unparalleled monument to the ageless art of storytelling, the tales of the 1,000 Nights and One Night have, for many centuries, titillated the imaginations of generations the world over. Perhaps one of the greatest Arabic, Middle Eastern, and Islamic contributions to world literature. The many stories in the Arabian Nights, or Alf Layla wa Layla, as it's known in Arabic, in their various forms and genres, have influenced literature, music, art, and cinema, and continue to do so until our present day. Whether through its folk tales, its magical stories full of adventure, or through its modern depictions as Hollywood feature films or Disney animated movies, almost everyone has been influenced to some extent by at least one or another of Sherazad's tales. Sorry. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. How are you? As I was saying, Disney animated movies, everyone has in some way or another been in touch with at least a retelling of Sherazad's dazzling Arabian stories of the exotic East. Indeed, one would be hard-pressed to find anyone not familiar with the stories of Aladdin, Alibaba, or Sinbad, among many, many others, or with such terms as genie and ghoul, all of which became known to the West through the tales of the 1001 Nights. This book, the 1001 Nights, or the Arabian Nights as it is also known, is constructed as a frame story to which all other tales are subsequently added. I like to call it a little bit of a Russian nesting doll stories, in which a story will be taking place. We will meet a new character within the story that Sherazad is telling, and then we will go into a story told by that character within inside the story. So it's a little bit like a storyception. And we will illustrate this a little bit further down the road, but then we will finish the story that was being told by that character, and we will later finish the original story and then go back to the setting of Sherazad and her um, plight with the king or the caliph, let's say. The tales themselves come in a very wide variety of genres, including fables, adventures, mysteries, love stories, dramas, comedies, tragedies, horror stories, poem, burlesque, and erotica. Very simply put, the frame story itself is one of a king, King Shahryar, who has been betrayed by his wife and who is off commiserating with his brother, King Shahzaman, who
Okay.
suffered a similar fate himself. On the journey, they encounter a beautiful woman who is being held captive by the most fearsome genie. The woman threatens to awaken the genie and thus incur certain death upon the two brothers, unless they have sexual relations with her. This encounter reinforces King Shahryar. Sorry, I am
It's a
going
mouthful.
loathing of women and confirms his paranoia that women are simply not to be trusted. His brother simply swears off women completely. Our main protagonist, Shahryar, has more shockingly sinister plan in mind. He rides back off to his kingdom and swears that he will wed every eligible bride in the land. And
Greedy.
after consummated their marriage the first night, he will have them executed the next morning before she has a chance to betray him. A lovely fellow, I'm pretty. Um, as might be expected, the king soon runs out of brides to marry, and his grand vizier's daughter, Dunya Sad, she was the oldest of the daughters of the vizier. He manifests intention to marry her, but she also has a younger sister who is the main protagonist of our story, Shahrazad, who is well known for her penchant for storytelling and decides to take it upon herself to, instead of the king marrying her older sister, Dunya Sad, she puts herself in that situation and wants to marry the king, despite the vehement protest of her father. Sherazad, however, has a plan herself. At a certain point in every night, she has her young sister Dunya Sad come to the royal quarters and urge the new queen to entertain their king with one of her famous stories. And we must add that Sherazad was beautiful. She knew she knew storytelling. She knew math. She was like a very
She was
she
a
was
Renaissance
very.
woman.
I'm sorry.
She was a Renaissance woman.
Yeah, exactly. She had been taught by her father many arts, and she was versed in many skills. So Sherazad then starts telling the stories, putting her talents to good use, beginning a tale every night, but never ending it before daybreak. She would just leave the story unfinished until the next day. And there, the king would want her to continue the story the following night. And this way, she would elongate her fate, knowing that once their marriage was consummated, she would eventually be killed. So, whenever she finishes a tale, never at daybreak, Shahrazad is sure to start another equally captivating story, which will go on for another night or so. This continues for 1001 nights until, spoiler alert, the king is finally cured of his paranoia and decides he wants to keep his queen forever after. As we have previously mentioned, the tales themselves combine many, many genres and draw from the very rich heritage and folkloric tradition of the entire Middle Eastern region. These stories combine the magical, the mystical, and the mythical with real and historical events. Some of the main protagonists in the tale, which appear throughout and have many stories of them inside the book, are, for example, the famous Caliph, Abbasid Caliph, sorry, Harun al-Rashid, and his Grand Vizier Jafar bar Makki, as well as the famous poet Abu al-Nuwas, in addition to genies, ghouls, and mythical giant birds such as the Rook. It is worth noting, however, that due to the folkloric nature of the tales, the Arabian Nights were often considered plebeian rather than high literature at the time. Furthermore, because some of the stories contain some explicit sexuality and sexual innuendo, as well as body language and themes not acceptable by polite society, they were also deemed quite vulgar. And I want to touch on one of the characters, the Caliph Harun al Rashid, who it is said that he would disguise himself as a commoner and go around the city to see what people were talking and thinking about him, which is something quite interesting, especially since I'm pretty sure our next episode is going to be about crazy rulers who didn't give a damn about what their subjects thought about them. That's a very nice contrast of a ruler being concerned about what his population thought about him. Now, there are in fact several layers of these tales, and the earliest manuscript tradition originating in 9th century Baghdad, followed by a Syrian manuscript tradition and an Egyptian manuscript tradition, not to mention the various oral traditions. These stories were mainly transmitted orally for a long time until they were compiled. So we don't have an author for the book. We don't even have an author for specific stories. But out of an oral tradition, something really beautiful emerged, and it's pretty amazing that something like this has survived the centuries until the year 2024. As a result, the tales themselves contain elements from Persia, India, Greece, Turkey, Central Asia, in addition to reference to the Mongol invasions, the Crusades, among many, many others. The tales were then Arabized and adapted for a Middle Eastern and Islamic audience, as we know things happen like this. Comparative mythology is a very interesting field of study in which we figure out how the stories, the archetypes, and the stories themselves, they change from population to population, until the Europeans became captivated with these magical tales of the Orient. These tales remained part of these manuscript and oral traditions. nor were there exactly 1001 nights prior to the European translations. The number itself may have been either a means of exaggeration to portray the many, many nights, or perhaps even a mystical symbol denoting a particular cycle of events. The first and complete translation of this book was done by Antoine Galland into French in the early 18th century. Later, many European translations would follow in various languages, including English, French, German, and practically every other language across the world. The most well known being Sir Richard Barton's 16 volume, The Thousand Nights and a Night, published between 1885 and 1888. The first definitive complete printed edition in Arabic was published by the Bulaq Press in Cairo in 1835, printed by the first Muslim printing press in the Arab world. The Bulaq edition constitutes the last decisive act in the textual history. All modern translations and editions to this day are based on this corpus published by the Bulaq Press. According to Arabian Nights scholar Ulrich Marzow, it was this edition that put an end to the development of the work's Arabic text. After 1,000 years of oral and manuscript tradition, during which the corpus was continually subject to change. Marzow, while the Library of Congress has a large number of translations and editions in its collection in a variety of language, it is worth noting that a copy of this definitive Bulaq edition of the Arabian Nights was recently acquired at the time this post was made by the Library of Congress and added to the collection and may be accessed in the African and Middle Eastern reading room. So that's a brief summary of what this book is, how it came about, and I find it absolutely mind-blowing how this happened. It's pretty amazing. And now I have two of my favorite phrases. One is repeated pretty much across the whole book, and this is what marks the ending of the night. And I quote, "And Sherazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say," unquote. And then the other one is the final line of a poem in it's the story of the porter and the three ladies, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. And it goes a little bit like this. I quote, "With swimming gait she walks. I laugh for wonder at her hips, but weep to see her waist, that all too slight to bear them is," unquote. And now I'm going to tell my favorite story from inside the book, which is the story of the fisherman and the genie. This story has a lot of preamble and goes into the details of the life of the fisherman and how he got to that point. It tells his what his situation at home is, and that he has been trying to fish for 4 days, and he hasn't been catching anything but a sort of lamp that every time he tosses away back to the river in which he is fishing with his net. Now, of course, this story is laid out like this because she was intended to take as long as possible to tell each part of the story. So there's a lot of going back and forward in the story. But on the 4th day of this fisherman being in this river, he casts out the net and retrieves once again for the 4th time this lamp, which is said that was made of bronze, which looks kind of has like a golden hue to it, with a lead cover, like a lead top. So after having that lamp so many times, he finally decides to open the lamp, and a really big genie comes out of it. Now, the story at this point goes into the backstory of the genie, how the genie got to that point. And a brief summary of it goes a little bit something like this. He got in trouble with a king, and after he got locked up in the lamp, he waited for 100 years, thinking that he would bless with riches and fame to whoever found him. But that didn't happen. Again, another 100 years passed, and now the genie was starting to get mad. So with every 100 year passing, the genie's attitude towards the person who would eventually open the lamp changes, and it gets to a point where the genie swears that he's going to kill anyone who opens the lamp and sets him free. So at this point, the fisherman, and we're jumping to the very end of the story, the fisherman says to the genie, begs the genie not to kill him, and the genie says no, that he's going to kill him. And the fisherman had a very astute thought. He told the genie, how could he know that he had come out of the lamp? And the genie says that he can become as big or as small as he wants. And the fisherman says, I don't believe you. And the genie becomes small and smoke and flies again into the lamp. Now, the fisherman covered the lamp with the lead top, and tosses back to the lamp to the river, and that way he outsmarted the genie. And I find this story so compelling, in that some people, I've been scared by people into thinking that genies or jinn or ifrits would attack me if I do this or that. And this story always comes to mind, how human ingenuity can overcome the biggest of adversities in most cases. And now I'm going to hand it over. Who wants to go first, Earl or Isa? All right,
Isa,
Earl.
I was gonna say
Okay.
ladies first.
No.
Well, she said you
I'll go
to
last.
go
Okay,
first.
sure.
Go ahead.
All right, I guess I will go. I have I have a bit of a little library here of all kinds of cool things. So, lots of cool books of all kinds of sorts here. But we're going to be looking at. I have two different versions of the Arabian Nights here from my ancient library of books. As you can take a look here, there's a lot of books right there. So, we have, as Max mentioned, the Richard Burton Tales of Arabian Nights. And we have Hussein Hadawi. So this is an old ancient book if you like old ancient texts.
Mm,
So
I can smell it from here.
I know. It smells good.
it does, right? It smells like an ancient text. So for me, what I wanted to do is a little different than Max. I want to
Sure.
just open the book and see where it takes us and see what kind of
All right.
adventure we go on. Exactly. So we're going to take one story from each of these
That's how I
books.
got to where I live now. I did that
And,
on a map, and that's where I put my finger.
I wanted to tell about the story that Max shared. There's a movie called Thief of Baghdad. I'm going to put it in the chat, 1940. I wish we could just share. Are we able to share like links and stuff in the chat?
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
send
you
it to me.
I'll send it to you. I want to just send the
Send it
trailer.
on the
So,
private, and I can paste it over on the YouTube.
He's
for
a
everyone.
mod. He can paste. He can
Oh,
post
okay, yeah. If you're a mod, then you can share it directly on the YouTube.
because I wanted you to, if we could see the trailer of it, it's so cool. But it's like a minute or two, but I think it's a really cool movie that I recommend everyone see. It's my favorite movie of all time, and it's from 1940. So,
All right.
um,
Yeah, I
I mean,
think it's old enough that we won't get in trouble.
oh, you won't get in trouble. You can watch it for free on YouTube.
All right.
So let me get you the trailer. I can even send the whole movie too, which is cool. Here it's 2 minutes, and I'm gonna send that over in the chat just so people can take a look, and then we'll start reading. Because the thing is, you will see that. Sorry, that's the music from it. You'll see the that same story. There's a scene in the movie that has that same story where a djinn interacts with one of the heroes, and that same story that you're talking about appears in there. So you can see it's
Oh.
taken directly from Arabian Nights. And actually that Disney Aladdin is basically it's a plagiarism of this movie. If you watch this movie, you'll know that it's like a plagiarism, but it got away because of what's that thing called?
It's in the public domain.
Public domain. So in the public domain, it kind of because it's so old, they could just take it, and I wish they kind of gave props to it. But
Do me a favor, because it doesn't let me select the link, so I can share it with everyone. We can watch the trailer all together. Send it in the private chat. There, I can copy
I will.
it.
I'll send in the private chat right now because I think we should all watch it. It's like super cool. There we go. I just sent in the private chat.
Perfect. Right. Copy, and I'm going to take it here. All righty. Share screen. Window. And there we go. Pause. I think I need to stop this.
And they do Technicolor in this too, so they colored everything in it.
Right. Putting it back. Okay, there we go. Playing it now.
Perfect. Oh, where's the sound?
Hold on. Let me stop the share and share it again. See if I have to. Some screens let you share audio for the on the next window. I think I didn't check a little box. Window. Okay, to share audio. Share a tab or screen instead. Okay, entire screen. All right. Did that do it?
No, we don't hear the sound.
Boo. Okay, hold on. Let me transfer it over to Chrome, which it says that it's easier. There we go. One second, please. Pause. And right. Let's see if we can get Chrome tab, Thief of Baghdad, also share tab audio. Perfect. All right.
Come with us on a ship of adventure to meet the Thief of Baghdad in that ancient land of mystery, romance, thrills, and excitement. Baghdad, city of magic. Baghdad, where breathtaking miracles leap before your eyes. There was a rich and powerful king in Baghdad, and there was a lovable little thief.
Darkness falls, leave your palace, go among your people, mix with the crowds.
Then fate threw together the powerful king and the little thief on the road to strange adventures.
No man has ever seen her, nor shall, till her father gives her in marriage. It's death to look on her.
Now that you found me, how long will you stay?
Till the end of time.
With The Thief of Baghdad, producer Alexander Korda takes you on a magic carpet to the 7 wonders of the world of entertainment. The murderous dancing doll, the amazing flying horse, the giant genie, the temple of light, home of the mysterious goddess, and the all-seeing eye. Filmed in Technicolor, The Thief of Baghdad presents Sabu, star of Elephant Boy and Drums, as the lovable little thief. Conrad Veidt, international star of stage and screen. June Dupre, the sensation of 4 feathers. John Justin, newest Korda discovery. And Rex Ingram as the giant genie.
Allah be merciful. It's a real genie.
Yes, he's mine. I'm his master.
Alexander Korda brings you spectacular new thrills in the miracle picture of all time, The Thief of Baghdad.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
I didn't know this movie. It's
Didn't I tell you it's awesome? It's so
I'm going to watch it tonight because this looks great.
and I'll send you the thing link to. It's the whole movie. You can watch it for free. So it's my favorite movie of all time.
But it's really cute.
It-
Although
and
the,
I love the presenter, the announcer. That kind of presenter voice always gets me.
I was
So-
just putting that in the chat. It's called Transcontinental English. Somebody was saying it sounds British, but it's actually an American accent that they created for the upper echelons to mimic, and so that's what all the broadcasters and announcers and stuff like that. They all were trained in this transcontinental accent, so that they sounded very posh. Yeah, I've always thought that was a weird little hiccup in our history, our linguistic history, because we lost that completely.
It's a very high class type of English.
Exactly, it's very hoity-toity. Yeah,
It shows that you're sophisticated.
yeah.
Oh, you
Sorry.
muted yourself
My bad.
accidentally.
So I will open up the book and we will take a look at the tales from the Arabian Nights. So one thing I want to tell you a little bit about me is I've taught kids. I've been a special ed teacher. So I love kind of teaching and stuff. So you'll have to, that's the way that I'm going to do my type of reading. So
I feel like I need to sit. What do they used to call it? Indian
yeah, you
style.
can sit. Come in the circle. I have a story to tell. So this is Tales from the Arabian Nights, and it's selected from the book of the 1,000 Nights and a Night by Richard Burton. You see this cool picture on the front? All right. So we're just going to open up the book and find out where we land. So you have cool pictures in here too. This is Richard Burton. All right. Okay, I found something kind of interesting here.
All right.
It's called The Tale of the Jewish Doctor.
All right.
So we'll see how this goes.
I guess we're not getting demonetized. I guess we're going to get demonetized.
Well, it's just about a Jewish doctor. We'll see what's going to go on with this Jewish doctor here.
YouTube is so fussy. Oh my gosh. I was trying to send a comment to somebody about, the things and the stuff and the whatevers that's been, going on over there. And like, I had to use every symbol that I could come up with to like try to, like, it looked like I was, like it was like a cipher trying to write out this comment so it would quit being, taken off. I wasn't even saying any bad words. It was just all like, YouTube scary words, and so annoying.
So let's see
YouTube
how the story goes.
Our big daddy, big daddy YouTube.
All right.
So this is Aleph Layla wa Layla. Right, marvelous was a matter which came to pass to me in my youth. I lived in Damascus of Syria, studying my art, and one day I was sitting at a home. Behold, there came to me a Mamluk from the household of the Sahib, and said to me, "Speak with my lord." So I followed him to the viceroy's house, and entering the great hall, saw at its head a couch of cedar, plated with gold, whereon lay a sickly youth, beautiful withal, fairer than he one could not see. I sat down by his head and prayed to heaven for a cure, and he made me a sign with his eyes. So I said to him, "O my lord, favor me, so favor me with thy hand, and safety be with thee. O my lord, favor me with thy hand, and safety be with thee." Then he put forth his left hand, and I marveled thereat, and said, "By Allah, strange that this handsome youth, the son of a great house, should so lack good manners. This can be nothing but pride and conceit." However, I felt his pulse, and wrote him a prescription, and continued to visit him for 10 days, at the end of which time he recovered and went to the hammam. It's like a kind of like a restroom, like a bathhouse. Whereupon the viceroy gave me a handsome dress of honor, and appointed me superintendent of the hospital which is in Damascus, which is in Syria. I accompanied him to the baths, the whole of which they had kept private for his accommodation, and the servants came in with him and took off his clothes within the bath. And when he was stripped, I saw that his right hand had been newly cut off, and this was the cause of his weakliness. At this I was amazed and grieved for him. Then, looking at his body, I saw on it the scars of scourged stripes, whereto he had applied unguents. I was troubled at the sight, and my concern appeared in my face. The young man looked at me, and comprehending the matter, said, "O physician of the age, marvel not at my case. I will tell thee my story as soon as we quit the baths." Then we washed, and returning to his house, ate something of food, and took rest awhile. After which he asked me, "What sayest thou to solacing thee by inspecting the supper hall?" And I answered, "So let it be." Thereupon he ordered the slaves to carry out the carpets and cushions required, and roasted a lamb, and bring us some fruit. They did his bidding, and we ate. He using the left hand for the purpose. After a while, I said to him, "Now tell me thy tale, O physician of the age." Replied he, "Where what befell me? Know that I am of the sons of Mosul, where my grandfather died, leaving 9 children, of whom my father was the eldest. All grew up and took to them wives, but none of them was blessed with offspring, except my father, to whom Providence vouchsafed me. So I grew up amongst my uncles, who rejoiced in me with exceeding joy, till I came to the man's estate. One day, which happened to be Friday, I went to the cathedral mosque of Mosul, where my father and my uncles and we prayed the congregational prayers, after which of wondrous things in foreign parts and the marvelous sights of strange cities. At last they mentioned Egypt, and one of my uncles said, "Travelers, tell us that there is not on earth's face aught fairer than Cairo and her Nile." And these words made me long to see Cairo. So I wanted to share that part of the story. We're not going to read the entire story, but we're going to share that part of the story. Oh, I'm going to go and we're going to read. We can read the next little. We can open up this book and see what's inside there too.
This reminds me, I don't know if you've ever heard about something which people used to do, which is called Bible divination, which they would do sort of the same thing. They would open the Bible, point to a passage, and read it, and sort of make up a prophecy based on what luck would have given you at random from a passage, until the church said, no more of that. That's heresy. You people stop doing that. You know, always the church
Yeah, they gotta ruin everything.
They ruin everything. We can never have nice things.
Right.
Because either that or they steal them.
Right. Yeah. Gets little hands on everything.
So
what I think is cool about that story is it kind of gives us a slice of life from that time period, which I think is really kind of cool. So that's the reason. That's why I said it's cool to just open up the book and see what's there instead of planning it. Because I could bring out Aladdin or Sinbad, but I'm like, I kind of like to get that kind of novel experience of what's going on. So let's see how this book plays out.
All right.
We read about the Jewish doctor, and we saw a little bit about the Jewish doctor's experience in Mosul. Now we're going to see Hussein Hadawi's The Arabian Nights.
All right.
In this ancient text. And let's see, we're just going to open it up. We're doing our Arabian Nights divination.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. I've got this right here. This is, it says Layla's night, the 138th night. The following night, Shahrazad said, I heard, O happy king, that the Jewish physician told the king of China that the young man said, the governor said, the first young lady who came to you was my eldest daughter. I brought her up in a strict seclusion, then married her to her cousin in Cairo. Then he died, and she came back to me, having learned bad habits there. She visited you 3 or 4 times, and at last brought you her sister, my middle daughter. They were sisters from the same mother, and they loved each other, and could not bear to be without each other for even a single hour. When the eldest sister was having an affair with you, she revealed the secret to her sister, who desired to visit you with her. So she asked for your permission and brought her to you. But she got jealous of her and murdered her and returned home without letting me know anything. When we sat down to eat that day, and I looked for my daughter, but could not find her, I inquired after her from her elder sister and found her crying and grieving for her. She said to me, Father, at the time of the call to prayer, she suddenly put on her clothes and jewelry, including her necklace, wrapped herself in her cloak, and went out. I kept waiting for her day and night without telling anyone for the fear of scandal, while her elder sister, who had murdered her, kept weeping for her, refusing to eat or drink, saying, I will never stop weeping for her until I die, until she worried us and made our lives miserable. Finally, when she could not bear it any longer, she killed herself. And I continued to grieve more and more for her. This is what happened. If you look at what happens to the likes of you and me, you will agree that this life is all vanity, and that man is but a transient image, which vanishes as soon as it appears. Now, my son, I would like you not to disobey me. Today, what had been foreordained for you came to pass, and your hand was cut off unjustly. But now I would like you to accept my offer and marry my youngest daughter, for she is born of a different mother. I will provide you with the dowry, and will give you clothes and money, settle allowance on you, and treat you like my son. What do you say?" I replied, "My lord, how could I hope for such a good fortune? Yes, I accept." Then he took me at once to his house and sent for the witnesses, and married me to his daughter, and I went to her. Moreover, he got me a large indemnity from the chief merchant, and continued to hold me in the highest esteem. When at the beginning of this year news reached me that my father had died, I told the governor, and he obtained from the king in Egypt an edict, and sent it with the courier, who went to Mosul and brought me back all the money my father had left me. And now I am living in all prosperity. This, then, is the cause of hiding my right hand, begging your pardon, doctor." His story amazed me, and I stayed with him until he went to the bath a second time and returned to his wife. He gave me a considerable sum of money, and providing me for my journey, bade me goodbye, and sent me on my way. I left him and journeyed eastward until I reached Baghdad. Then I traveled in Persia, and finally came to your city, where I have lived contently until my last night's adventure with the roguish hunchback. Isn't this story more amazing than that of the hunchback? But morning overtook Scheherazade, and she lapsed into silence. Then Dinarzade said to her sister, "What a strange and entertaining story." Scheherazade replied, "What is this compared with what I shall tell you tomorrow night, if the king spares me and lets me live?"
The the whole premise of the book is so intriguing and so special. I don't recall anything like this. And the one thing I do have a little bit of conflict is in some of the stories, there's such a reverence for women and for life and for the arts. But in some others, it can get pretty dark. It can get a little bit misogynistic, and slavery is mentioned a lot, and how they treat their slaves, and how some of them get beat up and get killed. And I kind of enjoy that conflict of some of these things that I don't agree with, but still make me appreciate the stories. So, in the regular premise of this show, who are we going to dedicate tonight's chat to? Anyone want to start, or you want
I
me to
will.
start?
The Jewish physician. The Jewish physician is just a star. We got to give it to the Jewish physician.
Fair enough.
To all the women who lost their head.
Very, very good
and,
dedication.
and all the hands that are
That are,
leaving
yeah, the
behind
hands,
without their owners.
the hands that are in hell. Just there's a guy without a hand, and there's a section for hands only over there, which are being tortured
You get a hand, and you get a hand. And you
for all eternity. Yes. And I would like to dedicate this chat to all those people who, even when they have the gift of beauty, still strive to make themselves better. And to all those people who are not just content with a beautiful face or a beautiful body, but enhance their beauty with art, knowledge, intelligence, kindness, and other extra qualities that make them even more attractive. And those people who, when not gifted with these conventional ideas of beauty, still increase their own beauty through these means. And I would like to specifically dedicate this to Shahrasal and Dunyasal, and of course to friends of the show, Hababa, who was beautiful and could sing until she made Yazid faint, and to Yahab, who paid the ultimate price for her beauty, which was death at the hands of a tyrant. So, to all these people, I dedicate tonight's chat. And if you haven't seen and you don't know who Hababa and Yahab are, you can see the third episode of the Tell Me That Story show, and you will find the stories of these two women. The episode is called Love Stories of Two Caliphs. And yeah, any final thoughts on the book of Thousand Nights and Nights? Earl, what does this book make you feel as a woman, as a person?
Well, some stories are gentler than others. um, the one that I picked at the point that it cut off was starting to get good. It was about the Queen of the Serpents, so kind of a Medusa sort of character. So it's kind of she's sort of a bad bitch. So kind of appreciate that. But yeah, lots of women, women's, and the mothers are sort of, just like sort of an afterthought, and their sons go and have these great big adventures, and mom's just like, okay, bye, I thought you died. It's all tragic, but they're fun. They're fun stories.
Thank you very much. Isa Sedafa 3000 says he dedicates this show to Kitty Kabir.
Kitty Kabir, I like that. Such a fun. I love toe beans.
And Justin says, is Isa at a restaurant with his cat? And no, I think Isa is at home.
This is my back room. So my house is like a very Moroccan. We have a lot of Moroccan style. You can see this is our back room. We have a nice big window here, and this is the kitchen here. You can see the kitchen. It's a pretty cool Moroccan styled kitchen. So
that's a cool island.
Yeah, it's a very cool. It's a very cool place. So.
Right, so Isa, so many houses like that.
Any final thoughts on the book? Any message you would like to convey to the audience? Would you recommend this book to people?
I think it's good to get an abridged version. It can be really dense. Like, you saw how I read it, and I think I made it sound more interesting, but it can be very hard if you just pick it up. It's a very, like, especially if you're reading like the more, I would say, archaic translations, it could be an extremely difficult read. It's cool that you mentioned that. I actually am a student of the Barnes Foundation. It's a very famous like art foundation, and we actually read. We did a class on Medusa, so that was kind of interesting. That's one of our classes. But and I'm doing a class right now on Islamic architecture and art. It's very cool. But going on this point, I think it can be a bit archaic, so it's important to I would get an abridged version of it, which uses more common language. I tried to make it as compelling as possible. But you know what's really cool about the reading? I opened up randomly, and they were interconnected. They were the same story. I read the first part of the story, and the second part was the continuation of the first part of the story, which I thought was really kind of cool. It was unique. Some people say, this is, a spiritual manifestation. And, maybe you could argue that, but I think it was just a kind of a cool kind of coincidence that they were linked. I just opened up the book, and they were this part connected to the same story. I think this story is really powerful. So this epic, series is very powerful. And I think it's very human. It carries all the kind of human elements, and it's real and it's authentic, which I think is powerful because it could be hard. We live in a society which I think sometimes gets really farther and farther away of our kind of humanity. And I think Arabian Nights really goes into the human element of it.
Thank you so much. Huhaman says, would love to have regular readings of the 1001 Nights. I don't know about regular readings, but we've been thinking backstage to actually do a second part of this chat because there's so much to tell. So we might
And I
probably
wrote a
do.
whole ass story and can't find half of it. So so I have to wait till next week and I'll figure that out. It's not my finest moment.
It's no problem. We're thinking of definitely doing a second part. But before we go, we will let you know what stuff we have coming up. The next episode, Wednesday the 6th, we're going to talk about crazy kings, princes, and rulers throughout history. People who were absolutely mental and did horrible, horrible things. We're going to talk about them. And I have a very interesting chat for you, and we'll see what Earl and Isa will come up with
A
on
lesson in incest.
we'll come,
You
we'll
get a
see
cousin,
what
and you get a cousin, and you get a cousin.
or you get a beheading and you get a beheading and you get a beheading. We are going to touch on many of these subjects. So the next episode is going to be about that, and we already have sort of a road plan. I'm going to lay it down for you. After that, the episode following that, March the 13th, we're going to talk about curious things in the Norse myths. So I also have a couple of very special stuff. I love the Norse myths. They are so poetic and they have such interesting things that you rarely see in other myths. They're more sort of cinematographic in a sense.
And you
That's
put
something.
vowels in the weirdest places.
Oh yeah,
It's
and
gonna be a hard time trying to pronounce some of those things.
And then on March the 20th, we're going to do, at the request of John Taking Back Eden, friend of the show, we're going to do a little bit of dragon mythology across the world. So stay tuned, share the show with someone who might be interested in these kinds of topics. And Huhaman sends us $1.99. Love all the content. Thank you so much. I think it's a great fit, especially when we always deal with such serious stuff as debates and these kinds of things. It's good to have a change of pace like this show and the Sunday show, which is now called Deep Six. And Earl, tell us what the next show of Deep Six is going to be about.
So the next episode is going to be on Saturday. We are moving it from Sunday because it was conflicting too much with debates and stuff. So we're going to do sort of a little brunch time kind of hangout, sit and chill sort of thing. And the next one is this coming Saturday at 2:00. And we're having Grayson, Base Theory. He will be on, so he's a lot of fun. And then I will be doing another makeup party with Better Than Ember. And I'll be doing that on the 3rd at 1 p.m. With her. And then the week after that is the 9th of March is David from Deep Drinks podcast. He'll be on Deep Six. So Deep Drinks will be on Deep Six.
Very interesting. All right. So stay tuned to the channel. We do debates. We do fun stuff. We're trying to cater to a lot of different situations and have you entertained. When we usually tell our times, we refer to the Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. Are you not entertained?
All right. Anything you want to say before we go and wait until the next show next Wednesday?
Eastern Standard Time. Me.
Yeah.
Me. Yes.
Any final messages, Isa?
I'm really glad that you all come to the show, and I think this is a great place for growth and learning and storytelling. And we're always happy that you come on Wednesdays and Peace and blessings. Shalom, salam. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned on Matters Now. Remember to like, share, subscribe. It helps us. It doesn't cost a thing. And we can keep this projects going. We're overwhelmed with the support the audience gives to the channel, the amount of views, the amount of comments, the people that join our live stream. So we are extremely thankful and grateful to all of you because you're the ones that make this possible. All right. With that, we're going to close the show and we will see you next week right here on Matters Now, where your voice matters.